Alright, in part 6 you remember how gummed up this motor is, and after a quick call from my good buddy Neil Stringer, who talked me off the ledge about this thing, I've got a game plan and I'm starting in on this engine, and I've flipped it over to one side and cleaned out, well, the first run clean out on this side of just the head anyway. And if you remember, this thing was really, in fact, here's a good example. You can't even see, well, you can barely see that corner head bolt there. It's just so thick with sludge. And to the good side, I haven't found any real grit in any of it. It's just thick, sludged up oil, and with a little mineral spirits, it pretty well dissolves. So I'm just cleaning all this crud out of here, starting with the top end of the heads first, and because there was so much crud that came off the rockers, I've got those soaking, and we'll clean those out and do all that, and lifters and so forth. And then we'll get down here in the crud valley. But right now, it's coming along. Here's where we are right now. Still just really gummed up on this side. I'm about to flip the motor over on this side and clean all this out, and we'll carry on. Well, I knew I was going to have to take this, well, because of the sludge that's right in there and coming out, I knew I was going to have to take the timing cover off. So of course I did, and here we are. And while that is not anywhere near as gummy as I thought it was going to be in there, that is a lot of slack, boys and girls. So looks like we have at least a timing chain in our future as well. And we'll pull all that stuff out, and then we're going down in here to the pan, and I'm sure there's going to be a surprise or two down in there. Alright, well, here it is. Once I've got everything finished out, you can see that the lifter valley is pretty clean. Heads have all been cleaned out. Rocker arms have been soaked. Everything is good. Under there is a new chain. And after I got it all soaked out and just a ton and a half of elbow grease scrubbing this thing and a whole lot of mineral spirits in here, once I got it all back together, I put some ATF in the oil pan and circulated that through there, because it does do a good job of cleaning out passages and so forth. Drained all that out. The color in that ATF was a little darker, but not very much. I cut open the oil filter when I got through and didn't see any grit or grime or anything in that, though again it seemed a little bit darker, but I mean, it's just a shade darker than the way it started. Cleaned all that out, and now I've got regular clean oil in it. I'm pumping that through there, and after I'm satisfied that everything there is up to snuff, I'll button her up, and that'll be the next time you see it. I did not change the rockers, push rods, lifters, any of that sort of stuff. It was working before, and after a good soaking, I expect that it'll still work. I didn't change the oil pump either, because it was working very well, and that's another thing that pretty well lasts forever, so I'm throwing that one right back in there, or keeping it on there rather, although I did take it off and clean it out and hose it out and soak it through. But we are getting there, and now it's just time to take a little time here and button this thing up. Alright, well, now that's a little more like it. That's what it's going to look like, all buttoned up. And well, it's not completely buttoned up. The manifold I'm going to have to wait on, because there's a bracket that I had forgotten to previously paint, and I'm waiting on that to dry so I can torque that, because it goes on one of these intake manifold bolts, and then I'll torque it all down. I don't mind telling you that right there, that manifold, there's about 150 pounds of elbow grease in that thing. And the really crazy thing is that my accessory drive is aluminum as well, but I actually cleaned that up and then painted it with cast aluminum colored paint, and it came out looking really well. If I would have known it was going to look that well, I probably would have done the same thing to the manifold just to save, you know, at least 50 pounds of elbow grease anyway. And well, the valve covers, they may end up being a real mistake doing that gloss black, but they sure look good now, don't they? But she's together now, all painted up. It's got the good gaskets everywhere. I did go ahead and put an oil pump in it. You know, it's just kind of a good peace of mind, I suppose, to put that in there. That seal's been replaced, rear seal's been replaced, painted up, tidied up. Just ran the oil through it again. Everything is pumping well. Everything is good, and now I can start taking parts out of the house and putting them on the car, getting this thing ready, and hopefully start making a little headway now.